I saw them waving from the cruise ship deck, all of them except me, and that was only the beginning. The wind tore at my hoodie as I stood at the edge of the port, gripping a plastic bag filled with oranges and travel-sized toiletries. The bag was meant for my grandmother, supposedly hospitalized the night before. I had cancelled my vacation. I had told my boss, family emergency. I even gave away my non-refundable plane ticket to Cabo. Because that's who I am, reliable, steady, the one who shows up. That's when I saw them. From the upper deck of the cruise ship, just pulling away from the dock, they waved and laughed. My mother's bright scarf fluttered in the wind as she leaned into my father's chest. My sister Karen, in a sundress I bought her last Christmas, posed for selfies with her boyfriend. Even my cousin Troy, who once told me I was too serious for my own good, threw a beer can into the air like it was Mardi Gras. They were all there. I wasn't. I froze. The bag slipped from my hand and hit the ground with a soft thud. Oranges rolled across the concrete. At first I thought it was a mistake. Maybe they had rebooked. Maybe the hospital mix-up was real and someone else took their place. Maybe. My phone buzzed, a text from Karen. Bon voyage, hope grandma's okay. There it was, no mention of me, no guilt, just a perfect emoji. Behind me, a dock worker shouted something about clearance. The ship's horn bellowed, long and deep, like a warning. I didn't move, not until the ship became a white blur against the horizon. My jaw clenched so tightly I thought my teeth would crack. I wanted to scream, to run after the ship and tear someone's head off. Instead, I picked up the oranges, one by one, and dropped them back into the bag. Slowly, methodically. That's how I work. I clean up messes. I don't cause scenes. But something cracked in me that day, something I didn't know was fragile. I got into my car and sat there, staring at the wheel, fingers trembling. The hospital was only 10 minutes away. I could still go. Still be the good son, the dependable one. But a question kept digging into the base of my skull like a nail. Why did they lie to me? That's when I started thinking back, when it all began. The hospital lobby smelled like antiseptic and stale coffee. A woman behind the front desk smiled at me as I approached, clutching the bag of bruised oranges like it was still some kind of offering. "Hi, I'm here to see Margaret Nolan. She was admitted last night, chest pains. I'm her grandson." She tapped on her keyboard with 2 fingers. Pause. A wrinkle formed between her brows. "I'm sorry, sir. We haven't admitted anyone by that name in the past 72 hours. I blinked. "Could you check again? Maybe she was transferred." Clicking. Another pause. "No Margaret Nolan. No transfer either. Are you sure this is the right hospital?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I'm sure." But I wasn't. I stepped away from the desk, walked past the waiting area, and sat in a plastic chair under a muted TV screen blaring the weather. Storm warning. Fitting. I opened my phone, scrolled through the family group chat. The last message was from Mom. "Can you be in town tomorrow? Grandma's not well, might need help at the hospital." No follow-up, no updates, no reply when I asked what room she was in. Just silence. And now a cruise. I pulled up Karen's Instagram. Her story was still live. She was filming champagne glasses clinking. Dad in a Hawaiian shirt. Mum dancing with Troy. The caption, "Family time is everything." Family. I almost laughed, out loud. Instead, I stood and walked straight out of the hospital into the hot sun, my mind spinning like a fan with loose screws. Why now? Why lie? And why me? That night I drove to Grandma's house. Her porch light was on, flickering slightly, like it always did when the wiring got fussy. I knocked twice. She opened the door in her nightgown, alive, healthy, upright. "Liam," she asked, "what are you doing here?" I stood there, stunned. "You're not in the hospital." She gave me a look like I'd lost my mind. "I made chicken soup. Want some?" I followed her in. At the kitchen table, under the dim yellow light, I watched her pour soup into a chipped bowl. The silence between us grew thick. "Did they tell you I was sick?" she asked finally. I nodded. She sat down across from me, hands folded. "I figured something like this might happen," she said, staring at the wall, not me. "They've been shifting." Shifting how? Less family, more performance. Her voice trembled slightly, not from weakness, but from something older, a kind of tired disappointment. They told me you had to cancel your trip, that you insisted. Funny how you were always the one who had to adjust. I said nothing. I couldn't. She reached under the table, pulled out a folder and slid it toward me. "Open it," she said. Inside were printed emails, bank statements, screenshots of messages, dates, times, names. "What is this?" She looked me dead in the eye. "Proof." "Of what?" I flipped through the pages. Transfers from my college trust to an account in Karen's name. Recurring payments for her rent, car, even vacations. Signed by Dad, approved by Mom. Tens of thousands over the years. I felt my stomach drop. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. "I wasn't sure you'd believe me," she said quietly. "You love them too much." I leaned back in the chair, the world tilting sideways. I thought I was helping, being a good son, a good brother. "You were," she said, "and that's what made you easy to use." The truth hit like a slap, not loud, not violent, but final. I sat in silence for a long time. The soup went cold, the porch light buzzed outside, and something inside me started to shift. Not anger, not yet, just a deep, ugly confusion. Like stepping out of a dream and realizing none of it was real. The next morning, I made coffee at Grandma's kitchen counter like I used to in high school, before work shifts and weekend chores. Everything looked the same. The chipped ceramic mugs, the humming fridge, the calendar with bird illustrations and a Bible quote at the bottom. But something fundamental had changed. Me. I wasn't playing the good son anymore, not blindly. I opened the folder again, spread out the papers across the table. Dates, numbers, signatures, all lining up, all real. I took photos of each page, backed them up to a cloud drive, then sent a copy to an old friend, Marcus, who worked in estate law now. I kept it simple. Need your eyes on a family trust issue. Possible mismanagement. Confidential. He replied 20 minutes later. "Call me, now." I stepped outside, stood near the porch light still buzzing in the early sun, and called. He picked up immediately. "Is this what I think it is?" "If you're thinking it's embezzlement, yes." Silence. "You know this is criminal, right?" he said. "If those accounts are what you say they are, your parents could be in deep. They used my trust to fund Karen's life for years, behind my back." He exhaled. "You want to pursue this?" I looked through the screen door at my grandmother, slowly pouring cereal. "They made me feel like the burden," I said. "I gave up everything for them." "Then don't tell them what you know yet," Marcus said. "Gather more. Let them feel safe, comfortable. That's how we win." That afternoon, I drove to my parents' house, let myself in with the spare key. No one home. Of course, they were somewhere in the Bahamas, sipping cocktails and toasting to my absence. Their home office was the same as always. Pristine, cold, smelling faintly of lavender and printer ink. I sat at Dad's desk, opened the top drawer, nothing but pens. The second drawer held the binder, white, labeled simply Family Financials. I flipped through. Tax returns, investment reports, and in the back, a section marked Transfers. I took pictures of everything, quick, silent, paranoid. I could almost feel Dad's cologne behind me, his voice saying, "That drawer's not for you, son." But I wasn't his son today. I was something else. That evening, I met Karen's ex, Greg, in a bar downtown. We hadn't spoken in years, but he answered fast when I texted. He looked tired. Greasy hair, laptop bag on the seat beside him. "Didn't expect to hear from you," he said. "I'm not here to talk about Karen," I lied. He laughed once, bitterly. "Yeah, you are." I leaned in. "When you two were together. Did she ever mention the family trust, or money from our parents?" He blinked. "She said she had a support fund. That's what she called it. Said it was Dad's way of balancing the scale, whatever that meant. Did you ever see transfers? She paid rent in cash, always. But once I saw a statement on her desk, had your name on it. Didn't think much of it." My chest tightened. "Why are you asking?" he said. I hesitated, then gave him the only truth I could afford. "Because she stole something from me." He nodded like he understood more than he wanted to admit. She always talked about you like you were the golden boy, he said. Funny, huh? Yeah, hilarious. Back at Grandma's, I sat alone in the living room, the TV off, the papers stacked in neat little piles around me. Everything I'd believed about my role in the family, the dutiful son, the rock, the fixer, was rotting from the inside out. I had spent decades earning trust that had never existed, playing by rules they'd never followed. And suddenly, I didn't want to play anymore. I wanted to rewrite the game. Not for revenge, not yet. But to know, to be sure, to stop being the one left behind. It was supposed to be a quiet move, a simple confrontation, a toe over the line, just enough pressure to make them squirm. I wasn't aiming to burn the house down, not yet. They got back from the cruise on a Thursday. I knew because Karen posted an airport selfie captioned, "Reality check." I waited until Saturday, gave them space to settle back into their thrones. Then I showed up. Mom answered the door wearing linen and pearls, the scent of salt water still clinging to her. She blinked like I'd crawled out of the ocean. "Liam, we didn't know you were stopping by." "Yeah, I figured." I stepped past her. The living room was spotless, arranged like a magazine spread. Dad sat on the couch with a glass of scotch, muted golf game playing in the background. Karen lounged in the armchair, legs tucked up, scrolling through her phone. All of them looked up at once, a perfect tableau of practiced indifference. I stood in the center of the room and said, "I know." Dad turned down the volume. "Know what?" "The trust, the transfers, the lies." Silence. Not even fake confusion, just a pause, a calculation. Karen spoke first. "Are you seriously coming in here with an attitude about money?" Mom shot her a glance, but it was too late. The temperature had dropped. Dad set his glass down. "Liam," he said, voice low, measured, "we've all benefited from this family. No one's keeping score." "You did," I snapped, "with my trust. You emptied it." Mom finally said it was redirected to where it was needed most. "Karen," she was struggling, she said, "you were always so stable, so capable." "That's not a compliment," I said. "It's a justification for theft." Dad stood. "Watch your tone." "Or what?" I said. "You'll cut me out again." Karen laughed under her breath. "Jesus, Liam, you're acting like a victim." I turned to her. "You lived off my future. You wore it, drove it, posted it." "Please," she scoffed. "Your future was a trust fund set up by Grandpa. You didn't earn it." Something in me snapped. I earned every damn piece of this family's approval, every favor, every smile. "And you just took." Dad stepped between us, hands raised like a referee. "This isn't productive," he said. "You need to calm down." I stared at him, at all of them, the perfect furniture, the dimmed lights, the curated stillness. "I'm not asking," I said finally. "I've already spoken to a lawyer." That got their attention. "You're threatening us," Mom said, her voice sharp now, "after all we've done for you." "You didn't do it for me," I said. "You did it to me." I turned to leave, walked out the front door, out into the dusk, expecting something behind me, a shout, a plea, a crack in the wall, but the door closed. Quiet, final. An hour later, Marcus called. "They've moved the remaining funds," he said, "into a shell account, offshore." I stared at the blank wall of my bedroom, phone pressed to my ear. "How?" "They must have known you were digging. It's gone, Liam." "Gone." The words sank in like ice water. I hung up and sat on the edge of the bed. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I broke, punched the wall, once, twice, skin split, blood on the plaster. The pain felt earned. In the mirror above my dresser, my reflection looked back, jaw clenched, eyes glassy, a smear of blood on my knuckles. I grabbed the frame, yanked. The mirror shattered, shards rained down across the hardwood floor, catching the lamplight like glittering knives. One large piece landed face up, angled just enough to reflect the ceiling. I stared at it. My whole life, I had been reflecting what they needed. Calm, strong, reliable. Now, I didn't know who I was. All I knew was that I had lost, and they had smiled while doing it. The bleeding stopped by morning. I wrapped my hand in gauze from Grandma's medicine cabinet, then sat at the kitchen table staring at nothing. She didn't ask what happened. She just poured coffee, Sat across from me in her bathrobe, waited. I finally said, "It's gone. The money, offshore." She nodded like she already knew. I leaned back in the chair. "They're not just greedy, they're strategic. I underestimated them." "You gave them too much credit," she said, "for having hearts." I almost laughed. Then she pushed a small envelope across the table. Inside was a USB drive. "I've been watching them," she said. "For years. I thought if I gathered enough, someone would listen. But I'm old, Liam. No one takes me seriously." I held the drive in my palm. "What's on it?" "Bank statements, signatures, meetings. They used the family company to launder the trust. It wasn't just Karen. Your father and uncle, they've been using the business to siphon money for years." That name caught me. "Uncle Gerald?" She nodded. "And his friends, contractors, investors, judges." It hit me like another punch to the ribs. This wasn't about me anymore. It was bigger, colder, older. "How deep does it go?" I asked. She looked me in the eye. "Deep enough that if you pull the right thread, the whole thing unravels." I contacted Marcus again, met him in person this time. A cafe outside the city, quiet, nondescript. He wore sunglasses and a baseball cap, like someone in witness protection. "You were right not to go straight to court," he said, plugging the USB into his laptop. This is real. How bad?" "Bad enough that we don't start with lawyers, we start with law enforcement." My stomach tightened. "They'll come after me," I said. He looked up. "Then don't do it alone." He tapped a number into his phone and slid it across the table. "FBI, Financial Crimes Division. They've had eyes on small-time laundering cases linked to your family's business. This might be what they've been waiting for." I stared at the screen. The number glowed like a warning. "Once I make this call, there's no going back," he finished. I nodded, and I made the call. 2 weeks later, I walked into the Family Foundation's gala in a tailored navy suit, clean shave, steady eyes. The same people who once forgot to invite me now greeted me with fake warmth and firm handshakes. "Liam, looking sharp. Took a while, but you finally showed up to one of these, huh?" I smiled, nodded. Played the role. Behind the smile was fire. Next to me stood Vanessa. She wasn't family. She wasn't even a lawyer. She was FBI, embedded under the title of financial consultant, wearing a backless dress and a cold, exact expression. "See that man over there?" she murmured, sipping from a glass of champagne. "That's Judge Walters, 10 years of sealed contracts with your uncle's firm." "Yeah," I said, "and the guy laughing with him. That's the contractor who built Karen's condo, with company funds." She raised her glass slightly. "Good, keep naming names. Tonight's just recon." The ballroom sparkled with money, strings of lights coiled around white columns, jazz band humming near the stage. I recognized every face, every voice, every lie, and for once I wasn't beneath them. I was watching them. Vanessa handed me a phone. "Text me the license plate numbers of anyone who leaves early. Our guys are parked outside." I nodded. Across the room, I saw Karen. She wore a silver dress and a 9,000 smile, linked arm in arm with our father, who looked 10 years younger under the lights. When she spotted me, her mouth twisted slightly. She walked over with high heels like hammers. "Well, well," she said. "Didn't expect you here." "Board member," I said casually. "Figured I should start acting like one." She narrowed her eyes. "You've never cared about appearances." "Maybe I'm learning." She tilted her head. "You came alone?" I smiled. "I'm never alone." She didn't know how to read that. "Good." "I'm just here to support the family," I said, "like always." She stared at me for a second too long, then turned and walked off. Vanessa leaned closer. "She's hiding something. You rattled her." "Good," I said. We moved together through the crowd, slow and deliberate. Every glass raised, every joke told, I logged it all. Vanessa's camera, hidden in her clutch, recorded everything. Later, on the balcony, she lit a cigarette she wouldn't smoke. "This is going to hit hard," she said. "They think I'm still cleaning up their messes," I said, "that I'm still playing house." She studied me. "You're not who I expected," she said. "Most people crack when it's family." I looked out over the city. I did crack, then I rebuilt. She tapped ash into the wind. This thing, it's going to ruin people. Your sister, your father. They were already ruined, I said. I'm just turning on the lights. Inside, applause broke out as my uncle took the stage. I stayed outside, watching, waiting, planning. The courtroom was standing room only. Not because of me, but because of what my father represented. The Nolan Foundation, Nolan Holdings, the Nolan name, respectable, untouchable. Until now. I sat in the second row, behind the prosecution's table. Vanessa stood near the aisle, blending in with the other agents, phone in hand, earpiece tucked behind her hair. When the bailiff called the session to order, the room hushed. My father walked in, hands cuffed, suit still immaculate. Karen followed a few paces behind, her eyes hidden behind sunglasses, despite the dim lighting. I watched them both. No reaction, no anger, just study. Like a scientist watching lab rats realize the cage has no exit. The prosecutor opened with documents, pages from the USB, ledger printouts, transfer logs. Then, witness statements, including mine, read by the court clerk. Then came video. Clips from the gala, Vanessa's camera, Judge Walters, contractors, my uncle laughing over scotch, Karen joking about always having backup funds. Every sound played through courtroom speakers. I could feel the crowd, press, old family friends, former employees, begin to shift. Whispers, stiffened postures. My mother wasn't here. She had fled the state 3 days earlier. We knew. Let her run. The judge asked my father to rise. Do you wish to make a statement? He stood, smiled faintly, like this was a press conference. I've built this family's legacy, he said. Everything I did for them, my children, my wife. He turned slightly, catching my eye. I'm sorry my son sees betrayal where there was only protection. Gasps behind me. Vanessa whispered, stay still. I didn't move. The judge asked Karen the same question. She didn't speak, just shook her head. The room waited. But the performance was over. The judge announced the formal charges: wire fraud, misappropriation, conspiracy. My father's smile faded. Outside the courthouse, the press swarmed. Liam, any comment on your family's arrest? Did you cooperate with the investigation? Are you taking over Nolan Holdings? I said nothing, just walked through them like smoke. Vanessa followed. You did it, she said. No, I said. We did. She glanced at me. You're not going to gloat? I looked back at the courthouse, cameras flashing, people shouting, the system finally cracking open. There's nothing to celebrate. We stood there for a moment, then I turned and walked away. Down the courthouse steps, through the noise, into the quiet behind it. Not a victor, not a son. Just a man who finally saw the truth and acted. 3 months later, the office felt different. Not quieter, just honest. The fake plaques were gone, the oversized portraits too. I kept only one photo on my desk now, Grandma, holding a mug of tea, smiling like she knew something no one else did. The blinds were open, sunlight spilled across the table where I reviewed a grant proposal from a local shelter, the kind of people we used to ignore. Across the room, Vanessa stood in the doorway. No badge, no wire, just her and a folder. You're officially cleared, she said, all sealed. You can walk free. I already do, I said. She nodded once, then left. I looked out the window at the street below, same city, same skyline, but I wasn't the same. Not the fixer, not the forgotten son. A knock on the door, an intern peeked in. Sir, your 2:30 is here. I stood, straightened my jacket, and walked to the glass wall that now divided power not by blood, but by principle. Below in the lobby, Karen stood silently, holding an envelope. I watched her for a long moment. Then I turned away.